Tapping. So the fluid on the sternum needs to drain to the side of the sternum. It's not very far. So my tapping is just going to be from the center of the sternum to the side of the sternum. Center side, center side, center side, center side, center side, center side, center side. And then I take one finger and I sweep from the center to the side, center to the side, center to the side, moving the fluid off the sternum to the nodes on the side.
And again, that's not very deep.
It's skin only.
Gotcha.
That's it. We've effectively drained one body part, the sternum. That's it. Okay, now we're going to do the clavicles.
Well, you said we do circles over nodes. Is that the same thing for tapping?
Okay,
and
so
sweeping, or
tapping
is
and sweeping are done over vessels. And it's always along the direction of the vascular flow towards the nodes.
Say that one more time.
The tapping and sweeping
Okay.
is always done over vessels, away from,
Like some long vascular.
it is, but I'm giving you more detail for the protocol later. It's away from watershed borders, which if you go back to my picture is like the blue lines on the body, towards lymph nodes.
Yeah, I don't like how you word that.
Okay,
We use the other one.
great.
We'll finish the other one. Over vessels along vascular.
Directions towards the lymph nodes? Direction of flow towards the lymph nodes? I don't know. You can't ask me word for word what I said 3 minutes ago. I wanted chicken nuggies. That's what I wanted. Anyway.
I want to go home, but I can't.
We're close, girl. We're close.
Now we're moving on to the clavicle.
Okay.
The clavicle does have lymph nodes under it, but they're so deep inside the circles won't really be very effective here, so we're skipping straight to step 2. That's the tapping. So I have my index finger on the clavicle, and I have my middle finger right underneath it. So I'm tapping on the clavicle right below. I move over. Clavicle right below. Move over. Clavicle right below. Move over. Clavicle right below. Go back with my one sweepy finger on the clavicle, sweep down. 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 It does not matter if you work from the shoulder in or the sternum out. Just I biomechanically feel comfortable going sternum out. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing, pushing fluid up. So now my middle finger's on the clavicle and my index finger's above. I'm tapping clavicle and above it. The clavicle and above it. Clavicle and above it, clavicle and above it. I'll do it myself here in a sec for those of you who can see. Now I'm going to sweep, clavicle up, clavicle up, clavicle up, clavicle up. On myself, what it would look like is tapping clavicle down, clavicle down, clavicle down, clavicle down, clavicle down. Sweep, clavicle below, clavicle below, clavicle below, clavicle below. Tap, clavicle up, clavicle up, clavicle up, clavicle up. Sweep, clavicle up, clavicle up. Tapping is meant to be like squeezing sponges, except I'm actually tapping the vessels and pushing it. Can I use your braid here for a minute? You're doing great, thanks. So, the lymphatic vessels microscopically are laid out. So you've got this long tube with a lot of chambers, kind of like each little knob here on the braid. And between each of these chambers is a tiny one-way valve. So once fluid goes to the next braid, it can't come back down. Yes? So what I'm doing when I'm tapping, I'm essentially just moving it next braid, next braid, next braid, next braid. And I'm just tapping it upwards.
So kind of just like pushing.
Yeah, and then to make sure it got cleaned out, I take my finger and I go and push it up the braid.
That makes more sense.
Okay? I always imagine it's like when I'm working on something like this, I imagine it's like one of those tiny travel toothpastes. And I'm like tapping it towards the end and then just make sure I got it all.
So, with that, when you're moving it one direction, do you do tapping a couple of times and then the sweeping, or do
You
you
can.
tap, sweep, tap, sweep?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
So there's,
So, like, block
I hear
water.
2 potential questions. First of all, I can repeat the tapping and the sweeping as many times as I want. If I have an area that's a major problem, like if you've got a breast cancer survivor and their whole right arm is super swollen, I would tap sweep it multiple times. And I might only tap sweep their healthy arm once, just because more repetition, more flow. But I also tend to do all my tapping and then all my sweeping in one area, because going back and forth between tap and sweep takes a little mental switch. And I just find it's less hesitation if I just do a bunch of taps than do a bunch of sweeps.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think if you look at the original protocol, I think that's the end.
Yep. Clavicles.
So really fast recap. We had the L under the clavicle along the shoulder, 200 beats at 100 beats per minute, 45 degrees towards the vertebrae. After that, we came over and we did the sternal thrust, 2 deep breaths. On the last breath out, we pressed and rolled. We came back to the shoulder, 2 deep breaths. On the second breath, when they are out of air, we vibrate and push, compressing the rib cage. We came over to the left side, located where the high point of the rib meets the umbilicus, placed our fist. For 3 breaths, we pressed down, 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 down. On the 4th breath, when she was full, she pushed us out. We swept under the ribs to clear the cisterna and the spleen 4 to 6 times. Along the sternum with circles / triangles, 4 to 6 repetitions, skin only, all the way down from numbrium, multiple locations to xiphoid. Make sure it's circle, pause, 4 to 6. Then we followed with tapping, medial to lateral along the sternum. I see a lot of people sometimes they're like tapping more down. Make sure you're tapping medial to lateral, middle, lateral, middle, lateral, middle, lateral. This is a lot easier without sports bras. Sports bras like pull everything to the center so there's no sternum left over. This is a whole lot easier with maybe like regular bras or no bras, but sternal access helps. And then on the clavicle, we tap clavicle down, clavicle down, clavicle down as we move out, and sweep down, clavicle up, sweep up. Done with the unraking of the drains so flow can.
Does it have to be done in that order, or can you do it in any
It
order?
doesn't have to be done in that. I mean, you could mix them around technically, but this is just an order that the flow works well.
Okay.
Okay. So that demo took me about 20 minutes to break it down, explain, but when I'm at going real speed, the whole thing takes about 5 to 7 minutes. I'll give you guys 10 per rotation. That's 10 for you, 10 for your partner, 20 minutes total.